welcome to the conversation. We're so thankful that you joined us today. I have my friend here, Tani Helgemoe. So thankful that you're here, and thankful for anybody who's watching. I am coming out with a kid's book, If You Only Knew. It's really exciting.
So exciting.
And this is a resource and a tool for you and your family to start the conversation at home. And really, I hope that this is not where it ends. I hope that this conversation is a launch pad, something to launch you into action, into change. And so, but I really believe that it starts with a conversation. I think that it's really, really important. So we're not experts. We don't have all the answers, but we're just here to talk with you about it. And we're so glad that you joined us today. Tani, I am so glad that you're here with me today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we're gonna start. We just want to know a little bit about you. So tell us just about your family dynamic, a little bit where you're from, your kids, all that.
Yeah. So my husband and I, Chad, we have 3 kids, and Chad and I met in high school.
High school sweetheart.
We were. I always say he chased me, but we all know that's not the truth. So and we went away to college and then came back together and got married. We have 3 children. And Ellie is 15. I have a son that's 13, and then our wonderful little Macy is 5.
I love that. I love that. So, like I said before, we're having this conversation. I'm not an expert. She's not an expert, but I think that this conversation is so important with families, and you're an amazing mother. Tani and I are friends.
Yes.
We go to the same church together, and I look up to you, Tani, in so many ways, and just the way that you parent your kids. I really do genuinely mean that, and I love each of your kids so much, and a lot of that is a testament to just the way that you've walked and you've lived your life. And so I'm really thankful and honored to just have you here today as representing our moms. So we're just gonna start this conversation. How, as a parent, have you raised your kids around this topic of race?
You know, that's a really good question, and a question that up until now I have never been asked. So just in thinking about that and just letting that just sink in a little bit, how I've raised them around race. I haven't raised them around it, I've raised them in it. My husband is Caucasian, he's white, and I am obviously Asian, and I was adopted, so I grew up in a home where I had 6-foot blonde hair, blue-eyed brothers and sisters, and then there was me. And I didn't know I was adopted until I was 6 years old. Somebody came up to me at a swing set and just said, "Who's your friend?" And my sister said, "It's my big sister." "Well, you guys can't be sisters, you don't look alike." Whoa. And we didn't realize that at the time. And so I thought, you know what? And my parents were amazing, but I'm not gonna do that to my kids. I don't want them to walk into a situation that they don't know how to handle if it's about something that they can't control. You can't control the color of your skin, you can't control your height, but you can control your response. You can control your words that come out of your mouth. And so from a very young age, they did know that I was Asian and that they were part Asian. Now, we didn't stress that a lot. That's not something I want them to lead with. You want them to lead with their character and their heart. But there is a space for it. And so, especially in these recent times, we've had a lot more conversation. And it's just been really interesting. I'm more open to it, I think, now. And I'm open to the uncomfortableness of it. Is that a word, uncomfortableness?
Yes, I love that. Uncomfortableness.
Yes, that's even uncomfortable saying uncomfortableness. But yes, I'm more open to it and I'm welcoming it. And I'm creating a space. It's in the car for it. So if you've heard the analogy, you can live with fear. Don't fight it, live with it. Let fear into your car. You are still the driver. Your heart's the driver. Your faith is the driver. Your character is the driver. Never give fear the driver's seat. But don't give race the driver's seat. Don't be the thing that you're steering and turning in a direction. And I've told that to my kids. Don't lead with that. Allow it to be there and invite it out sometimes. Let it be part of the conversation, but never lead with that.
It's so good.
You know?
I love that, right? Like you're saying, like it's about our character, right? And seeing people for who they are. And I love that because that's so much about what this project is helping to start that conversation, because a lot of parents are uncomfortable and maybe aren't comfortable, and that's no discredit to them. It's just maybe they haven't experienced that in their family as well. So I feel like I've even created like an empathy or a sympathy of like, if they've never been taught, then how would we expect this conversation to come about? And so I'm excited to resource families, but I want to know too, like you said, it's not this topic that they're just in it, right? This is the topic of race, you're just living it.
Yes.
And so I want to know, does age appropriateness, and maybe the age of your kids, you can explain a little bit about that. Is there a difference with each age and the topic of race?
Yes, we call them the bigs, my 15 and 13-year-old, and then we call her the blessing, the 5-year-old. They're all blessings, but at the same time, yes. And here's an example, if you don't want me sharing this experience. Recently this summer, I took my 5-year-old to downtown Minneapolis to Cup Foods, and I wanted her to see, and I wanted to watch her experience the George Floyd memorial. I thought it was super important. And I wanted to see it through her eyes versus my 15 and 13-year-old, because my 15 and 13-year-old already have experiences and prejudices and thoughts and opinions and all these voices coming at them, right? Whereas my 5-year-old, she hasn't had that yet. Life is good, life is fun. So I took her down there, and it was so interesting to watch her. And she wasn't fearful. She was talking to people. People would touch her hair and touch her face, and she wasn't scared. It was a beautiful moment for her to be part of something that I think forever will be etched in a lot of our memories. I hope it's etched in everybody's memory, that you can all come together, and it's different and it's uncomfortable, but watch it through her eyes. And then the questions came, Mom, what happened? Why did that man die? Where did he die? Well, how did he die? You know? And she didn't watch any of the YouTube videos or the media or anything. These were her questions. And I thought that was super important.
That is so important.
My 15 and 13-year-old already had questions because they saw it on LeBron James' feed. They saw it on something else. So they already had a narrative or a perspective that they were feeding into, right or wrong. But it was, and I wouldn't say it's tainted, it was, they're impressionable because they were already feeding into some of the social media. Whereas my 5-year-old, I'm like, I want your raw input. And sometimes you just gotta rip that Band-Aid off and see what's gonna happen. See if it's gonna keep, you know. So I thought, we're just gonna take you down there and I want you to see everything.
Yeah, and I love that because I think that has such a huge, it's such a huge factor, right? Like maybe you wouldn't sit Macy down because she's 5 and obviously brain development stuff, right? Like you're not gonna be like, hey, watch this video, because that could be maybe traumatic, right? But you actually took her to the experience, like you're saying, and it was a beautiful experience. But what's so interesting to me is that your bigs already had the experience, like you're saying, and it not tainted. But that's what I love about this conversation, and I think what I want to encourage and what you're already doing is you get to set the foundation for your family around this conversation, right? So it's either you or somebody else will. And so I just love that with Macy and with the olders, it was so different. Like you weren't gonna have that same conversation, the same interactions, right? And maybe you take the bigs to the experience, but such a different filter.
It is.
Because the age, I think it's so important when you're talking to your kids to be age appropriate with these conversations. It doesn't mean you have to shy away or be scared or not talk about it, because we have to actually talk about it. But I think that's probably what a lot of parents struggle with too, is like how do you start? How do we start, right? And so I just love what you're doing. And I know that we've had conversations before, and one thing that I love that you said is that you're just living it, right? So like you're mindful of locking the doors when a certain maybe color skin comes by. Like I remember you saying that, where it's like, Macy's gonna see exactly the things that I'm doing. And that's how she's gonna start to take on, right? That's what the persona, the character, the integrity that she's gonna start to take on. So it really starts with you and your husband, and how, and I think that's so admirable. Just the actions that you guys are taking and that you brought me. I think I just absolutely love that. So what kinds of things are you doing differently for your children based off of their age in communicating?
You know, it's different. My bigs, they're very active. You know, they play a lot of different sports competitively, and it's been a big part of their life. And I think from that, I have learned they can love something that other kids can love, and they can love it together. And it's so funny because it unifies us. I don't know these families. I don't know their backgrounds. I don't know the atrocities that have been done against them, or what they've seen, or what they've experienced. I don't see life in the same lens that they do, but we're all sitting on the same sidelines, and we're all part of a club team, which is lots of different cities pooled together, and we're all cheering for the same reason. And I love that, because when they're on the court, you only see players, right? You don't see skin color. You don't see race. You don't see religion. You don't see you just see a player. Well, it doesn't have to change when you come off of there, and then you change into your warm-up outfit and you leave. It shouldn't change. So we've talked about that with our bigs, and we've said, you know what, when you're on the court, it's the same as you're off the court. You're leading on the court, you're leading on the bench, you're leading when you walk out of the gym. You treat them the same. And so we've embraced that even on the sidelines, and these people have become family. I mean, we literally hang out with them all the time. Some of them come to church with us, some of them hang out with us. It doesn't matter what vein you're in, but I just think it's so interesting. You can come from a different walk of life. You can be Black, Asian, white, Hispanic. It doesn't matter. And your children are all playing for the same team, the same reason. Why can't we live life like that?
That's so good. Yes.
Why can't we all want the same things? Why can't we all go to school and want the same education? Why can't we all go to the restaurant? Why can't we all drive in a car and not be scared of police officers? Why do police officers have to be scared of the people they're pulling over? It doesn't have to be like that.
So good.
And it starts now.
Yep.
And shame on us as parents and myself. I mean, I'm slapping myself right now. But I mean, those conversations, I'm doing a better job now with Macy than I did with my two bigs. They're learning now more so because I'm engaging them more. But I feel like we've led them in a path that they already know it's there. So when I say we're living it, we're living it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
They just haven't realized they're living it because I don't give it a name. It's like telling your child before they take a test, ooh, Rach, you're nervous. Ooh, I see you're nervous.
Yeah.
Why would you ever say that to your child? Well, now I'm nervous. Or, or don't be nervous. When someone says, relax.
Yeah.
Are you relaxed?
And it's like, wait, am I supposed to be like uptight?
No.
Right.
You're already defining that feeling.
Wow.
So don't tell your kid, no, hey, there's a bunch of Black kids on your team. They're going to be, or there's a couple Hispanic players. Why would you ever say that? You don't. There's players that are really competitive. You're going to have a lot of fun. Yep.
That's fun. I love that. I love that perspective. And I know, like, you and I share faith in common, and we are. I mean, I know, speaking for both of us, we're so thankful for our relationship with Jesus and what He's done in our lives, and that's a big component, and it shapes a lot of what we see in our perspective. And so, I would love to know, what is just one way or one thing that you feel like God is speaking to you in this season when it comes to parenting your kids around the topic of race, or you and Chad being the main communicators to your family? What's one thing that you feel like God's just speaking in this season?
Just this morning, when I was just praying before we had this conversation, I just felt these words come into my mind. When you're a kid, when you're Macy's age, race is about your pace. It's about how fast. It's about competitive. It's about winning. Okay? Then when you become a teen or a little bit older, race is about your face. It's about your color. It's about your differences. And then when you have an encounter with Jesus Christ, it's about race is about grace. So, and I love the evolution of that, and it just makes it so clear, and it makes it so easy, and it strips away everything, because He's already done all the good work. We don't deserve any of that. So race should be about grace. It's about, God, that must have been really hard.
Yeah.
I didn't know that someone could feel like that. I didn't know you experienced that.
Wow.
I didn't know that you grew up like that. I didn't know every day you go into work that this is how you might be treated, or you might feel, or you might, that's what it is. And I think if we could just get past the pace and the face and just move on to grace, and we can help people get there. And you don't have to be weird about it. You can just have a conversation like we're having. And that's where it starts. And I think the greatest thing is your book does that. It challenges us at a small age. Just peel all those big words out and let's just go basic. So I'm super grateful that you took the time to put your heart into words, and I'm just excited to where this project is going to lead people. Yeah. Wow.
That's like, I'm like, girl, preach. That's so. I know, but it's so, like you're saying, like, grace, grace, and that's where I think my heart is too, is just right, because I'm white. I'm a white single woman who I've grown up in the suburbs, so I don't have I just want to better understand what people have gone through, and because I've never gone through that. But my heart is to learn and to grow, and so that's why I love just having conversation and just starting it. And so, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Best. Yes, so good.
Thank you.
So thank you again for joining this conversation of race, and thank you to Tani. Just so blessed, seriously so blessed by your words and your knowledge and experience. Really grateful to have voices on here that are not just mine. So I'm so excited about this project. If you only knew, it's a resource and a tool for you as a parent and as a family to just start. And like I said, I hope that it doesn't stop there. I hope that this launches you into this next season where not only are we gonna start to have these uncomfortable conversations, but we're actually gonna change after that as well. And our actions are gonna follow. So thanks so much for being a part of our conversation today.